Beautiful people, welcome to the Dr. Joy Show, your prescription for total wellness, and I'm your host, Dr. Joy. Is your lifestyle killing you? Think about that. My guest and I are going to talk about some elements of that today. Yes, this is part one because I already know we're not going to get through everything here. You see all these cards I have? Anyway, before we get started, you know what we do on the Dr. Joy Show. We take it down with 3 deep breaths. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. How do you feel? I feel great. I want to thank you, the viewers, for staying with me. This is my 100th episode of the Dr. Joy Show. And yes, it's a monumental milestone for me and for you too, and for my guest, who is Dr. Chuck Berg. Welcome to the Dr. Joy Show.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. It's a privilege to be here and to be part of this 100th celebration.
Woo! You know I'm crazy. You know that because when we first met,
crazy is good.
I was a little off, right? So, is your lifestyle killing you? Tell me about yourself first before we get into the book and the concept.
So, Chuck Berg, born and raised Bronx, New York.
Woo! Bronx, boogie
24
down.
years. Anyway, my background, I was interested in exercise physiology as a young kid, didn't know what to do with my life. And here, part of this and what we'll talk about today is a lot of it is serendipitous. You know, I never, ever, ever thought about becoming a doctor, chiropractor, health coach, any of these things, but kind of life took me in that direction. When I met a young man, I was planning on getting a degree in exercise phys. I met this fella, and there was something about his passion, his desire, his love of what he was doing. And what can I tell you? Serendipitously later, within a matter of 3 months, there I am, New York Chiropractic College, 4 years later graduating, and now entering my soon-to-be 40th year in practice.
Wow! Don't tell anybody that,
Yeah.
or unless you're going to unleash the secret as to how this all happened, because, you know, I mean, we add up. You look fabulous.
Well, thank you.
Wonderful, handsome guy from the Bronx.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's talk about staying conscious.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? I know you talk about it in your book, but tell me.
Yeah, well, staying conscious, you know, it's one of those things that it's hard to put your hand on what the word really means, but so many of us, we are in automatic mode.
Yep.
In fact, when you go to school and you learn about the human body, everything is on automaticity. But what we've got to do, I feel, Dr. Joy, when I use the word consciousness, it's really about awareness. It's about awareness of our choices, our daily choices, actions, and habits, because as far as I'm concerned, that's what makes up your lifestyle, and in fact, that's what predicts your future. So consciousness with regards to choices in terms of what I'm going to choose to eat. People know that they should be physically active,
Right.
but they're not taking the action to do it.
Right.
And more importantly, more than anything, and I learned this many years ago, the most important space is the space between your ears. How many people contemplate their contemplations?
Okay.
Think what they think about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because our thoughts control our feelings. Our feelings control our actions, and our actions have results. So if what's here is not right, then chances are those other blocks down the road aren't going to be right either, right?
Very cool. Yeah.
So what's this concept about feeling good enough or feeling not good enough?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, in my early years, I came to this realization, and it came to healthcare, that so many people who had their issues, they came in with neck problems, back problems, digestive problems, but it didn't take long to realize that emotional triggers are the things that predispose most health-related problems. And in doing my readings, and I was infatuated with so many different ideas and philosophies and reading so many books, and here's what I found. Universally, cross-culturally, throughout the universe, the bottom line to most every human being is an internal gut feeling of just not feeling good enough. Not tall enough, not smart enough, any of those things. And Dr. Joy, it stays with us, all of us, through a lifetime.
But is that a bad thing, or can that be spun around as something good, because then that would give us our innate drive?
Well, perfect segue to the idea that, you know what, it's always a matter of, it's not your circumstances, it's your attitude and your perception to the circumstance. So some of us are going to get stuck in that stuff. And just every single time that an event comes around where they don't feel good enough, they kind of go downward.
Yeah.
Somebody else is going to acknowledge it and say, you know what, underneath this low level of self-esteem lies competency.
Yeah, but they have to raise their self-esteem for the competency to arise. To be present.
You're absolutely correct. So part of lifestyle, as we started and we talked a little bit earlier, is about daily choices, actions, and habits. So the challenge to our listening audience, because, you know, I always hope it's fun doing interviews, but please walk away with something.
Oh, they're going to view it. So, yeah. Yep.
What I want them to do is to walk away with some kind of an assessment, a self-assessment of a ritual of what am I doing to myself, for myself, that will allow me to start raising this bar of feeling good enough. And it begins, well, there's 1,000 different things, but a few of them would be to at least spend 15 or 20 minutes every single day taking that introspective journey.
Yes, and many people don't do that because of the fact that they're in a rut. They get up in the morning, the alarm goes off. So I've always said that if you need an alarm clock to awaken you, that means you're cutting off, you're truncating the amount of sleep that you need. You didn't get enough rest. So now, bing, the alarm clock goes off. Bing, you get up, you go brush your teeth, you take a shower, you come downstairs. There's a certain train you need to catch. So you're always on some kind of time clock, some kind of schedule, right? And very few people have set aside the time to look in.
Right. So part of this introspective thing would be to say, you know what? I find myself always in a rush. So now we got to look at our time management situation.
Yes.
And time management, my suggestion, and it doesn't have to be what anybody has to do, but in reading, what I came to embrace is I joined the 5 o'clock club.
What's
the 5
that?
o'clock club is setting that alarm for 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Now, some people will say, this guy's out of his mind. But here's the deal. We are on this planet, Dr. Joy, for a relatively short period of time.
And we don't know when we're going to leave.
We don't know. But the idea is I'd like to max it out. I'd like to max out doing as many things as I possibly can do. And the idea of starting my day early, it is a beautiful time of the day. It is quiet. The rest of the people in your home and your family are all out there. And in quiet time is the only time to reflect. The beautiful metaphor is go out in nature, look at this magnificent, not a river, but a lake. And when the lake is at its quietest time, what do we have? Pure reflection of the mountains, the sky.
That's true.
It's magnificent, but it allows us to look within. And if we can honor the fact that I'm always in a rush, well then choose to do something.
That's right.
Become the director. We are the Spielbergs of our lives.
Yes.
We are the directors and the producers. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Very
And I
good.
think the viewers will believe it as well because of the way you are communicating it. See, it's out there, and a lot of things we know that's out there, but sometimes we don't get it fed to us in the right way, the right form, the right message. What you just explained, I think the viewers will get it. Now, let me ask you a question. How does one find their passion, do you think?
Well,
I know
the
I
first
found
thing,
mine.
you can't go out looking for
No,
it.
it fell. It like just happened.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe that if people are focused on their really sincerest level of high value. In other words, what are your highest values? Here's a great question. To try to find passion is, first of all, ask the question, where do I get lost in time?
Yeah.
Where I'm doing something and all of a sudden I look at the clock and then 2 hours
And it's
went
like, dang,
by.
I gotta eat.
Right. Because you found something.
Yes.
And I really believe that, you can't go into the library and look for it. You can't go
Right.
onto the internet.
Right.
Self-exploration and asking those all-important questions. Folks, the quality of your life are the quality of the questions you ask yourself.
Right.
And it's only through listening to your type of program, interesting guests, different books. So get out of the day-to-day humdrum where every day is a carbon copy of the day before and change it up.
Oh, but Dr. Berg, you're talking about people trying to be authentic and be and be happy with the skin that they're in. But we have these things called societal pressures, right? You talk about it in your book, the cultural software consumption.
Yeah.
How do you get out of that?
Well, we're going to start off by once again taking an honest look at yourself.
Because we're born with a clean slate.
There you are.
And then here all of a sudden we get that 3-letter word called ego. E-G-O. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
Ego.
Yeah.
And then that's when everything changes. What your neighbor does, what your mama's told you, what your daddy's told you, brothers, sisters, your friends, your best friends. Maybe they're not your BFF, okay? People at work. It's all about what everybody else is doing.
So here's the statement that we use.
Okay.
Are you, folks out watching our show, Dr. Joy, are you society driven or are you soul directed? Think about what that word means. Are you society driven or soul directed? So here's what I've learned. 3%. Yeah. 3% of people are truly soul-directed. They're listening to the quiet voice within that's really prompting them to say, you know what, you've been on this chase, you got you this, you got you that, you're driving your Mercedes, I'm living in a big home. And we know, and if you read and you learn and you listen to the magazine out of New York that says 1 out of every 4 people there is on medication for depression and anxiety, and these are the very affluent, the very wealthy people of the world.
Right.
So at a certain point, I believe it's important, Dr. Joy, for all of us to, I call it resurface, take an honest inventory. What's working and what's not working in my life?
Right.
And many people have given up their work and their profession and whatnot to find the thing that they love, to paint, to do photography. Yeah, I know you got to earn a living. But there's a way of doing both.
But there's a way of doing both. And I say a person finds their passion because when I'm speaking, when I'm doing my motivational talks, there's always a Q&A, and someone would say, well, okay, we know your story. We know how you came to be. But is there any particular question that you would ask me to ask myself how to find it? And I said, yeah, what is it that you love to do and you would do it for free? Yeah. Once you find that, then go do it. Work it. Yeah. Okay? So, but we just get caught up in everyday life, and we have these things called rules. Where do the rules come from?
Yeah. Well, I think rules are also, they're part of society and also, as you said, cultural software.
Right.
We come into this world and we are kind of told how to live our lives. So our parents, you said mother, father, teacher, preacher, past experiences, and people who you're hanging with. So one of the important things here is to...
You want to bring it, Dr. Berg?
Yeah, bring it on.
Come on.
What it states is that you will become like the 5 people you hang out the most. Now, how many people you will become like the 5 closest people you hang out with. Now,
that's outside the family?
Yeah, well, it could be in or out. But the point being is that you don't realize a child learns from the ambient environment of their home. It's not even what they were told.
Right.
It's what they're seeing.
What they see, what they pick up, right?
So if the 5 people in your world, if every time we want to hang out, it's going to a bar. If every time we want to do it, it's doing something that's just away from my core value system, at a certain point, I believe, we awaken. And these are the transformational aha moments that people experience in their life. But you have to be aware, conscious of what's happening, conscious to the fact that, I'm going out with these same people. I don't know if I'm really loving it. I'm coming home, I'm putting my head on the table, and this is really not giving me the joy nor the direction that I want.
Because it's the same conversation over and over and over again. And it's not a positive conversation. If it was positive, it's okay. But if it's not, it's like, okay, now how is this affecting me internally? See, I think a lot, and this is my opinion, and you may agree, that I think a lot of people care about their external. They care about their external, hence that's why we have social media, right? The Facebook, all the things that they put on Facebook, Instagram, look at me, I'm traveling here, I'm going there, and I bought this, and everything is external, and we don't spend time on the internal fix.
All right, so here's my statement for that.
Okay, good.
We are spiritual people living in a material world. Boom. So what happens there is that we are caught, with the angel, the devil. We are constantly caught without having clarity about what's really important. So therefore the chase is your lifestyle killing you? So people are killing themselves to acquire because we have a fraudulent belief system that who I am, Dr. Joy, is what I have. And therefore, the more I have, the more I am. So it's a fascinating thing. And what I ask our listeners is to see, how does that show up in your life? How did that show up in my life? I was one of those people. You know, I started my work in the what we call the Mercedes 80s.
That's right.
And you know what? I was hanging around with people. Everybody was doing real well. Before you know it, you're buying the bigger home, the German sports car, etc.
Right, exactly.
And there is nothing wrong with these things. Please understand.
That's right.
But what happens is,
I love my Mercedes.
when you are involved
Right.
with chasing that and forgetting about the most important asset, your
Exactly.
health and your emotional and spiritual well-being,
That's a problem.
you will find that those things will never satisfy the soul.
No, because then you're always looking for because there's always another model.
Nope.
There's always the next iPhone. There's always the next watch. There's always the next car. But is it because, do you think that people chase those things because they want to fit in? And also, that's part A. And then part B, that they seek validation from others, and when someone validates them, they feel good about themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all boils down to is once we truly understand who we are on a core level, we don't need those external things.
Right.
And what I also believe is that we are different human beings, Dr. Joy. In my 20s, in my 30s,
Oh, yes.
in my 40s, in my
Absolutely.
50s, my value system changed, the things that were important. And remember, I'm a healthcare guy, so what I'm going to share with the community here is to recognize that your health is your most important asset.
Your health is your wealth.
It's everything.
That's
well,
it.
It's great that we could language it. The question is, do you own it? Do
Yes.
you own it, and do you manifest it? And are
Right.
you congruent with the language that you are stating and your physical acts of well-being?
See, because those things, that material world that you were talking about, keeping up with the Joneses, what happens now to you, God forbid, if you lose it?
Yeah. Well,
You know, you have the big house, you got the 4-car garages, and all of them are the German cars, right?
Yes, yeah.
Hey, you're traveling, you're doing this. And then what happens if, God forbid, you're doing it on 2 incomes, God forbid, 1 income goes away?
Yeah. Well, I think it's not even the question. The question is, watch what happens. But it's those
Well,
moments
yeah,
that
that's
break
true.
us open. And I
Yeah.
will say in my life has not been perfect. I've had wonderful, the old story like Wide World of Sports, the thrills of victory
Yes, yes.
and the agonies of defeat.
Yes.
And I heard you mention on previous shows, it is not the successes in our lives,
No.
Dr. Joy. It is rather the challenges, the obstacles that we have to learn to make opportunities.
Yes.
I've had some losses in my life, everything from losses of parent to losses of my finances. And I had to sit back being part of a Ponzi scheme and recognize that at a certain point in my life, I think I was 55 years old, to have lost most everything, yes. And now the question you sit
God.
down with and you
That
ask
wasn't
yourself,
in the book.
no,
I'm
but
sorry.
this is part of being vulnerable. There's
Yes.
nothing shameful.
Yes, yes, yes.
These things
yes.
happen to us, and the question that you have to ask, who am I without a
Right.
bank account? Who am I without a large home? Who am I without anything? And what I've learned in my readings with so many interesting people is that many people who had so much physically decided to give it away because they wanted this feeling of learning to understand, who am I at a core level? Your entire life will be spent, as it is for all of us. You may not be conscious of it, but it's asking, will the real Dr. Joy please stand up?
Oh, yes.
Will the real Chuck Berg
Please
please
stand.
stand up? And I mean that sincerely, because at the end of life, folks, if you've been to, and I know everybody has unfortunately been to funerals, they will never discuss the size of the person's bank account. They will never discuss the size of the person's home. They want to understand your character.
Yes.
They want to understand your character, the essence of who we are.
So getting to character, there's character, and then we compared it to personality. Let's talk about that, because
Sure.
they're two different things. Some people think that they're one and the same, and it's not. So
Well, here's my interpretation of that. Well, personality, Joy, is that I have to come on to this show. So let me push my personality button. Hey,
you're up.
how are
Yeah.
you? Alive, motivated,
Right.
excited, etc. Your character is your core essence. There's no button to
what
push.
you believe in. How
And how you manifest.
How you
but
manifest.
here's the beauty, is when things are working right, when you are clear with yourself, you're comfortable with yourself, to me, there is no difference between your personality and your character.
Okay.
You show up as the most vulnerable, caring, compassionate, supportive, or the most angry, bitter, and all of
Nasty.
that other side. Yes. So I think it's really important, and part of the introspection is to ask yourself that question. How do I show? Am I different at work versus when I come home? I'm this wonderful, caring person on the job, and then I come home.
and I kick the dog.
Thank you. Or the child.
Worse.
Or
right.
the spouse.
Or the spouse, right.
Etc. So
Wow.
very important.
So let's jump into, because you keep saying this word over and over, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable.
Yes.
And what someone else thinks about me is none of my business. Terry Cole Whitaker came up with that.
Yes.
You know, Eleanor Roosevelt, Terry Cole Whitaker.
Yeah.
And I want to say here that, yes, what is the relationship between authenticity and emotional freedom?
Well, the relationship as I see it is that the more vulnerable that you are, the more honest you are with yourself, the complete freedom you have. Because now you don't care, because it really doesn't matter
We don't
what
care what
other
anybody
people
else.
think of us. That's powerful.
That's true, but to be vulnerable, Dr. Berg, to be vulnerable to someone else, right? That means we have to trust them. No?
Well, I believe that you...
Or we don't, or we really don't care.
We don't care.
Which is it? I think not caring is easier than to say, I'm going to trust this person.
What is the downside of me being vulnerable, sharing what has happened in my world with people? Here's what I've learned. The beauty is that the more vulnerable you are, when you open yourself to people, people open themselves to you. Otherwise, all we do is have my veneer with your veneer.
Yeah.
And until we got to rip through all of that so
Right.
that will the real joy please stand up, we don't have to do that. And I've learned that people like you better. And when you show up this way, life is joyful, pardon the pun. Yeah.
No, I get it. So you said 3%. You had that 3%, but then there's the 97%.
That's right.
So if that 97% wants to make a change, they will use what you call in the book the life's mulligan, right? They get that second chance to go through. And I just want the viewers to understand, it's not a quantum leap that you're gonna do this. That you're gonna make this jump. It's a transformation. So there's a process.
Yes.
There's an evolution that you will go through. Yeah. So, but one has to want it. Would you say?
Yeah. So the great statement that I'd like to make here, I think an important statement, is
yes.
You, each of us, our viewers, you must find your why. Why? Why bother? Why go on this journey? It's been taught to me, Chuck, you've got to work harder on yourself than you ever done on your job. Wow, that's a lot of work. But the question is the fruits of labor, and the why is that what I'm looking to do is I want to grow older very gracefully, because I want to believe that at 63, I have another 20 to 30 years of viable, healthy, quality living, hiking, biking, racquetball playing, the things that are important to me. So no matter what it is that you want, identify your why, because without a why, there is no comply.
I love that. Without a why, there is no comply, and what's right for you versus other people's goals. Now, let's talk about the role of gratitude within this transformation process of going towards being authentic. Your thoughts?
All right, my thoughts. So here's what I've learned. You cannot be in gratitude and be depressed at the same time. Every emotion carries with it hormonal changes in the body. Okay. And you can't just say, I'm grateful. You have to own gratitude. You have to feel gratitude.
You have to embody it.
Exactly. But this is a daily routine.
Yes,
so I share with patients that the first thing in the morning, the first thing we should do, because the human emotion, the mind, is most vulnerable at 2 times of the day. upon going to sleep at night and upon awakening in the morning.
Okay.
So challenge those times. Don't allow the negative, incessant thought process to take over. I challenge it by taking pencil and paper, because there is something that I can't explain, but neurologically when we
write it down.
So everybody's heard this, but again,
Yes, yes.
hearing it and living it is two distinct things.
Yes.
So I'm asking listeners to walk away from today to put some of this, what Dr. Joy, what I'm trying to share, in practice, so this has a profound influence. We don't change in 24 hours.
No.
It is a lifetime. And through the lifetime comes enormous wonderful things, followed by your legs being taken out from us.
Right.
But still being grounded in the fundamental rituals and habits that will keep elevating us. If we do it enough, we become unconsciously competent. Powerful.
That is very powerful. And the gratitude thing, that someone, a coach, a life coach, and I'll call her name,
Sure.
Willa Edgerton Chisler, and she's a good friend of mine she's going to be one of the recipients of your book, challenged me long time ago, 2000, I'll tell you the number of days, 2,688 days ago. She challenged me to write down in a journal.
Thank you.
Every day, I am grateful
For.
to your higher power for blah, 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 blah. So whatever number I told you, it's been almost, how many years?
Right.
A lot of years.
So
Every day.
Rituals is the thing that
Yes.
dictates our future.
And it changed my life. That's what I wanted to say. When she suggested, she didn't challenge, she suggested that I do that. You do something for 28 days, it becomes a habit. And here I'm approaching 2,700 days.
Yes. So it's embedded for
It's
you.
embedded, and I miss it. That journal goes with me everywhere I go. If I'm traveling, it's going.
Yeah.
It's near my bed, or it's downstairs in the family room, or it's with me, and I miss it. If for whatever reason I can't go to sleep without journaling
because it's
what it was.
reflexive. So take this, and again for our listeners, so this is one component, but now I referred to something that I spoke to you earlier about, my triune of truth. And
Right.
what that boils down to is that, remember, your health has multiple different areas.
Right.
So aligned spine, eat from vine, calm mind. We've been talking about how we calm this mind, which is crucial. And of course, as a doctor of chiropractic, motion to the human anatomy is critical.
Yes.
We all know it, but have you ritualized? So if you walk away tonight, today, whenever this gets,
When it airs, yeah.
is to ask yourself, how am I putting these three basic components
And what are
into
they again? Because that's how we're going to end.
Align the
Align the spine.
Eat from the vine,
Eat from the
whole
vine.
food nutrition,
Right.
and calm the mind. To work on thy space between my ears, a 15-minute protocol every day. Look how powerful the gratitude was for you.
Yes!
What if you did 15, 20 minutes, hopefully an hour of physical activity?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't want to hear we don't have time.
Oh, yes, we do.
We make
Yes,
time
we do.
for
It's
everything.
24 hours in
That's
a day.
important.
We
yada,
have
yada,
it.
yada.
We didn't get through everything, so I'm going to ask you to come back, and we're going to have to do a part 2.
Terrific.
Okay, so we'll set
Happy
it up.
to support it. All right?
But yes,
Thanks
thank
so
you
much, Beth.
very
You bet.
much. Well, I hope you enjoyed what we talked about today in terms of transforming, and is your lifestyle killing you? The one thing that I didn't mention, but I already know this, is that you can contact Dr. Berg at Chiroman123 at AOL.com. Chiroman, CHIROMAN 123 at AOL.com, all right? Or rivervalechiropractic.com. And I forgot to ask him that, but I kind of know. I'm reading it from his book. So until next time, be blessed, stay healthy. Thank you for being the true supporters and viewing me for like the last 100 episodes. See ya!